instances of paranormal phenomena have been reported in this desolate place. Events that may reflect the area's tragic past. Whatever they are, whatever you call them, ghosts, spirits, shades, specters, apparitions, there is not a corner of the world they do not inhabit.
I'm coming through.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Other Dangerous Podcast. I'm Ken James, and this is Jason McKittrick.
Hey, folks.
And if it can haunt, howl, or dwell in the dark, we're here talking about it. And tonight, we are bringing you another Listeners' Stories episode.
Perfect.
Sound effects, gang. We're that good. So we're coming in.
Debatable.
At this point, we're in the nut hugs of fall here. it's wrapped around us. It's tight. You know,
It's probably still 90 degrees.
yeah, probably. But we're doing another outside episode. You know, we got the air conditioning sound giving us the vibes. We got fans going off. We're
Hear the
killing it.
crickets?
Yeah,
I
we got
hope.
the
Can they hear
crickets.
the crickets? I wonder.
Hopefully they can hear the crickets.
Yeah.
If they can't, I'm gonna come back and shoot your air conditioner.
Okay.
But anywho, so yeah, we got some stories here tonight from submissions, and we are going to read them to you guys, and hopefully give ourselves some chills.
Chills?
Number 15. How's it going, buddy? Anyway, so we
Could you smash this like button or maybe smash your fist across my skull?
Smash the like button and let me know in the comments if you have any other suggestions.
What's your theory why I talk like this?
Yeah.
Do you think I have some kind of deformity?
In my vocal cords. No, that guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
That's all that is. But, so, do you want me to just hop on in here and start going?
You seem pretty wily. I think you should.
I'm a little wily. I'm ready to rock. I did a rendition of a story earlier that's got me all kinds of bugaboo. Anywho, all right, this one was submitted by a friend named Holly, and it comes from a friend of hers named Steve Olson.
Interesting.
Yeah, so back in 2014, I lived in a restoration job in a 1920s home. One night during a stay in Atlanta will be forever integrated into my mind. When I think back on it, I knew it was going to be a strange night. Atlanta was forecasted to get fairly sizable winter storm, which they rarely get. At the time, Atlanta did not have many snowplow trucks, so the whole city was completely shut down. The city was buzzing about the incoming storm. I started to see people driving and spitting out all over the place. I was standing there watching these people use anything they could to get out of their car, put under their tires for traction, trash even a pair of blue jeans. When that failed, they grabbed sticks from the side of the road and stuck them under the tires for traction, but they were shooting out like arrows. So these yeah, of course that would happen. Great work, Atlanta.
Hot Lana.
Hot Atlanta.
Wasn't hot that day.
Bah, 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 bah. Yeah. I walked back to the house to bunker down for the night. I was staying at the house with my coworker, and the boss was also there this particular night. It was after dinner time. We had a few drinks, then shut down for the evening. I watched a TV show and got ready for bed. I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep, and it was still snowing. Out of nowhere, I started hearing voices. It sounded like a man and a woman's voice talking directly below my window. It sounded like a debate, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. It started getting louder, then it got silent. And then it suddenly sounded like the glass kitchen door got smashed, and I could hear glass flying all around the floor, bouncing off the marble countertop and stainless steel sink. I was really scared at this point. I thought people had broken into the house. I jumped out of bed. I could hear the door opening and glass crunching as they were walking over it. I grabbed a hammer I had in my room and went flying out into the hall towards my coworker's room to wake him up. I could hear people downstairs walking through the house with heavy boots walking closer and closer toward the steps. I decided not to wake up my coworker. I don't know why. I didn't really know what to do. They were getting closer. I went towards the steps with my hammer to wait. It was pitch black in the house, and at this point, while I was standing there, every hair on my body was standing up. I've never felt a cold fear like this in my life. The footsteps continued until they got right to the bottom of the steps, and then it just went silent. Not a sound, not a peep. I stood there for a while, maybe 10 minutes, I don't know. It's hard to say. I was waiting it out and listening. For some reason, I never yelled out to my coworker or boss. I don't know why, I just didn't. After some time, I worked up the courage to walk down there and see the damage. When I did, I was shocked and in denial. How could it be possible? Nothing was out of place, no broken glass. All the doors were locked. I went and looked outside, checked for footprints in the snow, but there was nothing. I have never experienced anything like this before, or an event like this. It certainly changed my perspective on things unseen. It took some time for me to wrap my head around it, but I know what I heard. The next day I told my coworker and boss what happened. Of course, whether they believe me or not, unless you experienced it, it's just not the same thing. For the remainder of my time working at that house, I can't say I enjoyed it too much, and I was glad when the job was done. But I think it is an interesting story that, for me at least, opened my mind for other possibilities. Steven.
Interesting.
Right?
So it's just a phantom sound.
And those happen.
Yeah, they do.
Those are things that, that's...
Have you ever heard that theory of like there's like the ancient idea of like the trickster spirit that's been called other things throughout history?
Yes.
And
yes,
that like that's just the name they've given to this weird like thing that happens where something seems to be messing with you, but
right.
like it's just out of place things that happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you go upstairs, you know, I turn the light off, go upstairs, the light's on. What the fuck? Go downstairs, like, or you go upstairs, you hear a loud crash, come downstairs, nothing is out of place.
Yeah, they equate that to doppelgangers too. Like randomly, sometimes you'll hear like a person that like is there, and then that person walks in.
Okay.
And they're like, "Oh, it's you were just here." And they're like, "Oh no, it's not."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can relate an experience like that. I think I said it on the first, I think it was our first episode when we were talking about our. When I went to Marlboro a few times.
Right.
And one of the times that we were running out of there when it was like the crazy shit that happened in those sub basements that I was telling about.
Right.
We heard the sound of, it was a, clear, windless, cloudless night, and it sounded like a giant tree fell near us, and there was nothing there.
And those are this is why I hate people that have to put a label on something, right?
Yeah,
You know, it's like, what is that? We don't know. We'll never know.
Well, that's why you just call it paranormal.
Right.
That's the nature of it.
Yep. Because it's not normal.
Right.
Paranormal.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I like it. I like it. I mean,
good story.
It's classic.
Holly, I'm so sorry that I didn't. She submitted that way early, and it just.
Well, we had a few, and we had a.
Yeah, we had a bunch of different episodes, but Holly, thank you very much for your submission.
Save the best for last.
Yeah,
from that group.
Steve, and thanks Steve for the submission as well. I appreciate it.
Yes,
we appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Another Dangerous Podcast.
All right. So next up, we have this one's pretty interesting. This is from Josh from California. Josh says, on a 2-week solo backpacking trip, I had 4 days in seclusion between ranger station check-ins, like one of these long hikes.
Yeah. Yep.
On the first day of the seclusion, I felt like I was being stalked. As I lay in my tent that night, I could hear what sounded to me like footsteps around my camp, but never coming too close. In the morning, I checked all around and found no evidence of footprints or having any wildlife around me. I broke down my camp and took off trying to put it behind me. The second night was the same thing. I grew so paranoid that when I would hike during the day, I would go over rocks, walk through streams, anything to try and break the trail so I couldn't be tracked. I'd go around a blind turn and then sit there for an hour waiting to see if something would come behind me. That concept is terrifying in itself.
Right.
Sitting there and then there's, the monster from your nightmares comes out.
Yeah. Or even a person.
Yeah. Still, it's like, dude, are you following me?
Yeah.
Like, do you have a weapon?
Yeah.
At night, I couldn't sleep for more than 10-15 minutes before waking up. Finally, I got to the ranger station check-in and told them what I had been experiencing. I went and set up camp as close to the station as I could. Later, the rangers, they offered for me to sleep on their couch for comfort, and so I could actually sleep. I accepted and stayed the night indoors. I walked out to my camp in the morning and it had been destroyed. My tent was cut on the side, sleeping bag ripped, and backpack turned inside out. The rangers came and reported it, took pictures and everything. I ended up getting one of the rangers to give me a ride back to base camp and going home the next day. Josh.
Dude. No. I don't care if it's paranormal or normal.
Yeah.
Being in the woods in those situations, that's the most terrifying.
Yeah.
People that always go camping, without a gun or a knife or something.
Yeah.
Like, because I've read and heard, they're littered on YouTube and in Spotify or any of the, podcasts. Like, those stories are terrifying, dude. Top to bottom.
Yeah.
Whether it's paranormal or not.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's just downright frightening. I mean, that could be anything. That could be a dude that was following him that was going to, wait till he went to sleep and killed him and robbed his shit. I mean, but even then, that could have been a bear. That could have been a mountain lion. Who knows what that is? I mean...
And one of the first smart people in any of these stories that went to a ranger station and slept on the couch. Because most of them, they go,
I'll be fine.
I've been out here before. And it's
this shit doesn't really happen to people. It's like, yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
And what's interesting, he doesn't say where it was, but like, have you, listened to any of these, the Missing 411?
You told me about them, and I haven't.
It's like these stories of like all these people that go missing in these in the national forests and natural camps. You're good. And this kind of reminds me of that. And a lot of those stories, I think it's interesting where they want to take it's this creature or it's this ghost or this alien, but people you'll have this one dude was watching. He's like, yeah, that's classic mountain lion or bear activity. They bury what they don't eat, and they come back later and they get it. That's why you don't find these people.
I was just hearing just because I'm gonna talk about it, but there was this one story I just heard about. This guy took his brother out. This guy was an ex Special Forces Army Ranger. Took his little brother out, and it's a real story.
Yeah.
And this guy just showed up at their camp at the campfire and started asking them questions. It was two guys.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Nah, man, we're just here, blah blah blah." And his brother had a gun on him because he was a special ranger. So they're in the tent. They start hearing stuff. And his brother wakes the little brother up, and he's like, "Let's go." And they go up to the top of this cliff, and a bunch of dudes with flashlights and guns come out, and they're like, "Where are you?" Blah blah blah. And it's two of the guys from earlier with other guys, and they start firing guns off into the woods.
Wow.
And he's like, "If anything happens, you run to this the ranger station."
Yeah.
And it's a real account. This shit happens.
Oh
dude.
yeah, 100%.
It's nuts, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's at this point, it's scarier than the paranormal. That's scarier than the paranormal. It's nuts.
Oh, dude. I mean, we're here doing this podcast and we love the paranormal shit, but 100%. What are you afraid of? Fucking other people, man.
Yeah, right. Sorry,
yeah.
I had a
no, because
that
I mean, I'm not here to try to explain what that was, but to me, that sounds like someone was following them.
Right, absolutely. And that fucking happens, and it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so on to my next one. This comes from Kelly. I'm a second-generation firefighter. My father spent the later days of his career as a fire safety director at a massive mental asylum. Our state version of OSHA has to come and do inspections at all facilities. His was no exception, so the OSHA inspectors make their way to an abandoned part of a facility that used to house the criminally insane. The absolute worst of the worst. Serial killers, rapists, and cannibals, etc.
Cannibals?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like the guy in Florida who was the frat boy anyway. Right. My father left them with keys and a flashlight because the electricity didn't work. The inspectors were radioing back to my father that they had kept hearing talking and footsteps, which was impossible. Not even squatters could move around because each section is isolated with locked doors to prevent escape. Eventually, the inspectors gave up and actually flee without finishing. My dad decides to stick around and check the alarm boxes, and they didn't. As he's checking one of the alarms, he feels as if someone is watching him from down the hall. As he looks, a shadow forms with a head, shoulders, and torso, but no legs, and just two holes where there should be eyes. My dad noped the hell out of there. Since the hospital has shut down, it has been on Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, and a myriad of other shows and movies. My dad has been in some of them. Jason from Ghost Hunters called it the scariest place he's ever investigated.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Where was this place? Did they name it?
No. They just said it was a massive mental asylum, and a bunch of OSHA stuff. I guess they were saving some anonymity for themselves there. I don't know.
Okay. All right. I mean, those places we both have history with those places,
right? And those are those places.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think we said it all concerning those places. If you're, folks listening, if you've ever explored these places, you know what to expect there. It always has that same feeling of it's kind of weird. You go in there and it's like almost like you're on a different planet while you're in there. You're like, it's separate. It's a separate space.
Yeah, it's totally something else, man. And that's the best way to describe it. It's something else.
Yep. You're something else.
I am. I know. I know.
All right, so next up we've got a submission from Lisa from Portland. Lisa says, my fiance and I went hiking up a mountain in the Pacific Northwest last summer. It's perpetually muddy due to a large number of waterfalls along the sides of the trail, so there's no way you can avoid getting at least a little dirty. Around an hour and a half up the trail, we passed two men wearing black suits, black hats, black glasses, holding black leather briefcases, and wearing black dress shoes. Completely clean dress shoes. Completely clean dress shoes.
Completely clean dress shoes.
And immaculately clean pressed pants. That's, I don't know. Not a spot of dirt or a wrinkle on either of their clothes. As we passed each other, one of them whispered something in German. I looked back at them, and they were both standing still and looking back at us, staring. One of the creepiest things that has ever happened to me, and I've had my fair share of strange experiences. Dig the show, guys. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to hear what comes up next. Lisa, Portland.
So is this Men in Black hunting something out there?
German Men in Black?
Hey, man.
Nazi time slip?
Maybe. I mean, the time slip would explain it because they're there with everything clean and pressed, right?
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just came out of a door that just came out of the sky.
Yeah,
or like
they were
a door just opened up, like, you know,
Yeah.
TVA style.
Yeah. And what he said was, he was like, "Don't step in this Shiza." You know, like,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, that's
Or watch out for the stupid American. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, super weird. And like so I had to pull that one because I was like, that's just bizarre.
Yeah. It is bizarre.
I mean, what the hell were they doing out there? How did they get out there? No mud, no nothing on them. Like, did they go out there and like they go out there, they have like, you know, they're covered, they got all like coveralls on and stuff, and they get to the top of the mountain, they're just like, hey,
Yeah.
and then they just sashay down the path.
Maybe it was just like fashion designers like
That's what I'm
testing
saying.
out this
Yeah.
new like mud resistant.
Yeah, maybe what they were saying in German was just the name of their like design company.
Yeah. Heinfrauser. You know,
Sure.
something like- that was their version of by Calvin Klein.
No, that was Calvin Klein.
Yeah, Calvin Klein. All right.
ODP deep cut.
Oh yeah. Woo. You get into that one.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah. All right. This one is from Dave, Washington. I was driving across the country with my mom and sister, and I was 16 and my sister was 20. It was late, but we were all well rested and alert. We were driving along the interstate and needed gas and a bathroom break. So we stopped at the only rest stop in 200 miles. There was a van full of teenagers on the road trip, and at the gas station, as well as a small gray car parked at the pump in front of us with two young men standing outside of it. When we got out there, everything felt wrong. We'd been on the road for days and seen many rest stops of the night and had never been afraid until then. My mom and sister went inside and I stayed in the car. I heard the teenagers say that they were creeped out and couldn't get to the pump to work, and they left in a hurry. I was watching the car in front of us, and the two men had not moved at all, not an inch. They weren't talking. They weren't on phones, and they were just standing there still as stone. My sister and mom came running back out to the car, and when they got in, the two men slowly turned to look at us while not moving or pivoting the rest of their bodies, and I swear to fucking shit, we all saw the same thing. They had eyes dark as pitch and empty. Truly empty. Not black, not reflecting any light at all, just void. We sped out of there and didn't stop until we were in the next city. The worst thing about the entire experience? We couldn't find the place on any map. We knew exactly which spot on the interstate to look, and we couldn't find it on any Google Maps or any paper map we had. We even asked locals about the creepy gas station out of the stretch of the road and got only confused looks. We've traveled on that interstate since, and there is no rest stop.
Interesting.
You usually hear like black-eyed kids, you know, black-eyed children.
I was just gonna say, but these are these are the angels from the Prophecy series of films.
So not Chris Walken, but
These are like background angels.
Okay,
like the ones that
yeah.
did get lines. I kind of like that. That kind of reminds me of like a story I told for the Halloween episode last year about the house that had the jack-o'-lanterns that we went past later that nobody lived there.
Yeah, that's weird. And this is like a little gas station that pops up. It's almost like the harbinger of doom in the cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it's like a setup almost. Because like the other teenagers were there in the car and they were like, let's get the fuck out of here. They didn't even get out.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
So Dave's mom and sister were like in there and they were like, oh, whatever.
Hey.
Yeah, hey.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's... Like, what do you do with that? Like, you experience that? People with no eyeballs? Not black, no eyeballs.
Here's what you do, because, like, once again, I'm going to have my mom and my brother on for some stories that happen. And when you tell people these stories, they're like... Shut up, you know. Like they're like, and like that's why my brother Eric is. So
you get right out of here.
Yeah, we get take a hike, sister. You know,
sure.
Yeah, and that you usually do. You take a hike.
You can
if you want. All right, but you better not be followed by some kind of creature or madman.
I mean, that's the problem. That's the risk you take.
It is the risk you take.
Because then it becomes, I took a hike into the unknown. Our attempts at being funny.
Yeah, well, I think we're funny.
Yeah. My wife doesn't. She went back inside.
Yeah, well, you didn't apparently earlier when I was singing. So.
Well, it's well established. All right. Moving right along. You're going to like this one.
I hope I do.
This is from Cassie from New Mexico.
Cassie? Yeah. All right.
I was camping with my husband and his family at a small remote lake in New Mexico. There were about 10 people in our group and another group of 6 people in the next campsite. It was nighttime and both groups were doing typical activities, making s'mores, having a few drinks, and telling stories, when we all heard what sounded like a little girl yelling out for help.
No. Nope.
Neither group had children with them, but we were all positive we were hearing a little girl and decided to search the area we heard the noises from together. There was a field behind our campsite, and we all saw a very tall, pure white figure standing maybe 100 feet away from us in the field, making the noises.
Making the little girl noises.
Yes. We all agreed that this thing looked maybe 6 feet tall, skinny, and white as can be. We made our way closer to investigate, but whatever it was, we saw started backing off as we got closer, and it disappeared into the trees. All night, we continued to hear a little girl calling for help as we tried to sleep.
So...
New Mexico. Skinwalker.
Sounds like it. Sure as shit sounds like it.
A tall white creature making sounds of a little girl crying out for help.
Right.
That's nightmare fuel.
It is. But it's also, it's curiosity fuel. Because it's like, let's say, once again, we're going off people's personal stories, right? There is, like, you know, we don't have the evidence in front of us. We're just reading these stories. And, like, you know, who's to say, on our point, these are fake, right?
Yeah.
So we have to take these at face value for being real. So what the fuck is that? Skinwalker? What, like...
Well, I would even say, Cassie, since you sent this in, what are your, if you could write back, if you hear this, what did you think that was? How were you guys able to sleep there and not run out of there? Yeah. Or the next morning, was there any evidence of anything having been there? Or, you know, you say it's somewhere in New Mexico, you don't give us an exact location. Are there any like legends in that area that describe something like that? Are there Native American legends? I want to know more.
Yeah. Well, and the takeaway from these kind of things, though, like a lot of people do this apparently, right? When they experience these things, they do that like, oh, it's fine.
It ain't fine.
We'll be fine here. And you're like, yo.
Because when you see something like that so out of the ordinary, like your lizard brain kicks in my mind, and it's like, that's either fight or flight.
Right.
Like if you don't just, and you're in a group of 10 people, they said there's no kids, so fine, but you're a bunch of adults, but like, then you go to sleep, you put yourself in a vulnerable state. Like to let that white thing... Yeah.
So you're in a group of 10. How many are bad motherfuckers is my question.
None,
right?
Is what I'm saying.
So... If I'm in a group of 10,
maybe one.
I'm like, all right, I'm a bad motherfucker, right? I'm like, how many of these others? And there's this creature out there doing little girl noises.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
So
do you
I'm
think that creature would have expected, like, someone to just run up to it and just start beating the shit out of it?
No, it wouldn't have. It would have expected someone to go, you okay, hon? You
Yeah.
all right, honey? You little
Yeah.
girl? Oh, you see peas?
Yeah, not just
Oh, you
run up to it
hungry?
with, like, a machete and just start fucking it up.
No, like, your best bet at that point is to run up and square up, right?
Like, I gotta be honest, like, I mean, maybe we're just talking shit because we're sitting here talking about it, removed from the situation, but, like...
And
if
drinking
I
highlights.
Yeah, if I was there and had, like, a weapon on me, I gotta be honest, I think I would fucking run up on him. Like, that's
Yeah.
never been seen before. It's
Yeah.
clearly not an animal. It's some kind of terrifying thing.
White creature,
Yeah.
pale white.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm thinking there's this big creature here. I'm not going to get any trouble killing it. No one
No.
knows what this is. It's making little girl noises.
Yeah. It's
what-
clearly some kind of,
It's begging to be gunned down.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it reminds me of? Remember the movie Annihilation, the bear that made, like, instead of roaring, it would be like the help me noise?
Dude,
One of the scariest things in a movie ever. Yeah.
I don't
You don't want to talk about that anymore.
I don't want to talk about it. Like, I do want to talk about it because, like, okay, Annihilation's a film, right? And it's not
Yes.
based on someone's personal story.
No. And like you said, we're taking this at face value
Yeah.
because we have to assume that this actually
Yeah.
happened. No one's going to try to write us in and write us some wackiness.
Yeah, so like I'm like I got to put this thing down.
Yeah.
That's where my mind goes, right?
Yeah.
I got to save other people. I got to
Yeah.
put this thing
Yeah.
is born for bullets,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Right?
Yep. Do you have a healing herb in case you take some damage?
I would ask one of the 10 with me.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do.
Yeah. Do
right?
you have room in your, in your
attaché case? Yeah, right.
For, your best weapons?
Like, can you dump your healing liquid on, put your hand back on?
How's your reload speed?
Mine's good.
Yeah, mine
yeah,
too.
Yeah, right? So, all right, so my last story here, this was no-name submission. All right.
Just an anonymous?
Just an anonymous.
Okay.
When I was 37, I went to my high school reunion. I flew into the nearest airport and rented a car. The distance was about 35 miles through a very rural and almost abandoned part of the country. About 3 miles outside of the town, I see someone on the side of the road flagging me down. It turned out that it was one of the guys I had attended high school with. Jim, not his name, gets in the car and we start talking. I had not seen him in 20 years, but he still looked the same, maybe a little older. Oh, I know where this is fucking going. We get to town, and I asked him if he wants to come into the VFW and have a drink. He says, no, just take me home. Jim's parents have lived only a few blocks from my grandmother's house, and I turned in that direction, but he said to take him to the outskirts of town. There was a mobile home park out there, and I figured that it was where he lived. When he reached the end of the turn off, he said, just drop me here. It was good to see you again. And he walks off into the night. I go to the VFW, met some of my old classmates. We start to talk, and as we start talking about who is coming to the reunion, I mentioned that I had just picked up Jim 3 miles east of town and had dropped him off. Ah, chills. Everyone gets quiet. Even the guy singing karaoke stops and lays down his mic. And Mike is spelled M-I-K-E instead of M-I-C. My cousin goes white and has a new t-shirt. Quote, Barb, Jim died on that curve 8 years ago. Rolled his car. We were all at his funeral. I was told I started to feel really dizzy and went out of the car to take some deep breaths. There on the seat in the local newspaper printed 8 years previous containing Jim's obituary. I still have the paper. Okay, so I guess it's Barb who submitted it.
Okay. Well, yeah.
God. That's that.
What do you think?
Jim's been dead for 13 years. Oh, that's what that is, man.
You look like a great Spirit Halloween decoration.
I
when you
am
did
a
that.
great spirit decorator, dude. Oh, man. Those ones, like, and once again, taking the face value, if it's true, Large Marge sent you, motherfucker. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think we set forth the parameters a long time ago that, like, we're not here to decide if it's real or not. We're just going to take it at what it is, and we just read it, and then we just, whatever it is.
Yeah, but, like, what do you do with that, man? like, how do you put that in your pocket? Like,
I think what you're trying to say is there's some things when it happens, how do you continue on normally?
Right.
Who's to say that she did? She's just relaying our experience, her experience to us. After that, she may have, it could have been life altering.
Yeah, man.
They say that, people who,
Did I ever tell you about Chris getting lost?
No.
Yeah, back when my mom, my dad, and Chris lived in Northeast Philly,
Yeah.
when he was first born, Chris went missing, and there was a woman downstairs, right, that used to make hints to my mom that she wanted to kidnap him, right?
Really? Like one of these kids, like, oh, I wish I had him.
Something like that,
Okay.
right?
I'll take him off your hands.
Right. So Chris ends up going missing one day.
How long was he missing for?
Hours.
Jesus.
Some guy with blue eyes brings him home.
Okay.
He said he was a cop. My mom went to look. He wasn't. There was no cop with this guy's name in the area.
That's weird.
Right. One of those weird childhood things I remember. I may be recollecting some of the things wrong.
I have to ask your mom about that.
Yeah, I will. But
That's
no,
interesting.
my mom, I told you, she's got some
Oh no,
dimes.
I know she does.
The other day she told me someone, like what I was telling you, and you were like, why didn't you record them? I was like, no, because I want to get them actually good, and I want to have you there for it.
I'm gonna say we should have your mom on as a guest.
Yeah,
and, like,
next time you
both
come
talk
up.
to her.
Next time you come up.
100%.
And Eric too, because Eric.
Yeah.
Fuck Chris. No, I'm
No, Chris.
no,
Move, Chris.
we know, we love Chris. We know, but we know all Chris's stories. He's been open with us about everything.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
We'll have him on too at some point. It's
Absolutely.
Just,
Chris,
our-
we'll make some sausage.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, sausage and peppers. Mwah, via Sophie. But yeah, man. Is that all for our stories we got? Is that
No, man.
Oh.
I got a closer for you.
Oh, shit,
And
my
this
bad.
one, I think you're gonna like this one.
All right.
All right. So our final little submission here tonight. This is from Melanie, from Arizona. This one I'm just gonna read it. This one. Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah, I see it in your face.
Melanie says, I'm a psychiatric nurse, and early in my career, I worked at a residential mental health facility. One of our residents was an elective mute, which means that he couldn't talk. But there were no medical reasons as to why. He had spoken earlier in his life, and in fact seemed quite normal back then, with the exception of being close to 7 feet tall.
Ugh.
He's a tall guy. He'd been raised in the Deep South and joined the military when he was 19. But one night, he vanished. He was declared AWOL, and eventually he was declared missing and dead. 10 years later, a 7-foot-tall man walked into a VA hospital emergency room in my part of the Midwest and said to the receptionist, "My name is Marion Duquesne, and I've been dead for 10 years." Those are the last words he ever spoke. He was covered with dust, and he was wearing the same clothes he'd been reported to be wearing the night he vanished. His social security number had not been used, and he had no identification on his person. However, they were able to identify him, I guess, via fingerprints. The family was notified, but they said they had already grieved the lost man and that whomever was claiming to be him simply could not be. They demanded not to be contacted again. Marion paced all day, every day, moving his mouth that looked like talking or muttering, but no sound came out. He had an unnerving habit of throwing his head back with his mouth wide open, as if he were laughing heartily, but not even a breath could be heard. If I talked to him, he appeared to listen, periodically throwing his head back in that laughter-mimicking way of his.
I don't like it.
Various medications were tried, but they did not affect him either positively or negatively. Occupational therapy did nothing because Marion would just grin, and unless told to stay put, he'd get up and start pacing again. On my last day at that job, the last thing I saw was Marion, pacing in the parking lot, throwing its head back to laugh, quote-unquote. Later, I wondered if all along I'd been dealing with a ghost. All these years later, I still don't know.
Fuck you, man.
Dude, the throwing the head back?
Yeah,
like that,
yeah. I'm thinking of like a faster motion. Like that
Maybe.
was the visual I got.
Maybe.
Oh.
Like, it's pretty terrifying. Like, just the whole idea of that one. Like, okay, she worked in a psychiatric hospital. Now, here's the thing here's the part that gets me, right? He was covered with dust, and he was wearing the same clothes he'd been reported to be wearing the night he vanished. His social security number had not been used, which means he didn't apply for a job.
Yeah.
He didn't apply anything.
Credit,
And he had
nothing.
no identification on his person. But they were able to identify him somehow, so she's thinking fingerprints.
Yeah. And he says, I've been dead for 10 years.
Yeah. So the family didn't want to be contacted because they grieved him already. So they said there's no way he could have been alive. So does that mean that they identified a body at some point? And then here he goes. He shows up with these weird,
Tendency, yeah. Like,
these weird tendencies and doing these weird, like, motor functions and, like, the silent laughter.
muttering to himself. Like,
But no muttering. But like, no sound comes out.
Looking like he's muttering.
Yeah. And nearly 7 foot tall.
I love doing these episodes so much because it's like there's always new things, new scary shit.
Yeah.
That like you think you see or read it all.
Yeah.
We watch so much. We've read so much. We've absorbed so much. We've had so many of our own experiences, right?
Yeah.
And we can't say, just as anyone can say to us that our stuff was fake or real.
Sure.
We can't say theirs were.
Right? Yeah.
So it's like these are some of my favorite episodes, these listener submissions ones.
Yeah.
Because like, oh man.
Yeah. Melanie also closes out, says, I also have a UFO experience, but I'll write back in another time to tell you guys that one. Thanks again. Good job at the podcast, Melanie.
What? I just, and you know what? I'm one of those people that do have UFO experiences as well as ghosts. I'm just blown away, man. Like it's so I don't want to say it's not mind altering. It's just like it's creepy, dude. It's because there are things. Remember, all right. So when we were doing the contest, for list submissions, and the one thing you said is like, I like the idea of something just showing up, reminding us from something from the darkness, reminding us just how small we are, right?
Yep.
It's got to be out there, man.
Hey, I mean, that's the thing. There's not enough evidence to confirm or deny. It's like. It's there, and it's like it exists in a form where you can't prove it almost, and you can't disprove it either. And but that's the nature of it, right? Right. That's the whole nature of it. Like it has to be that way, or it wouldn't be this stuff. Yeah. Like these weird things that just happen. Like I'll tell some of even my closest friends about us at Eastern State, and I'm like, bro, we saw a ghost. Like I went up with an infrared camera, well, not infrared, but night vision camera. I had a regular camera, and nothing was captured, but with our eyes, we saw this. All of us thing. We all did, and it's unbelievable. It really is. In all, facets of the word, unbelievable. It is, and I love it. No, I love it. No, because it hints at a larger, I don't know, world, universe, experience, whatever you want to call it. So, and because of that, it keeps things interesting, Yeah, we're on this spinning, falling ball, It's true. Which is anxiety-inducing, and then all of a sudden, something pops up in your life where you're like, wait, none of this else matters, because there's a dark entity walking in front of me. Yeah. And I see it. Yeah. And then everyone else goes, fuck you. Yeah, it happens. And, I think there's also like a very, I don't know what that means, but, there's a deeply personal aspect to these things. Yeah. I like I said, I don't know what that means. Like, does that mean that this is only happening to this person for a reason, and it's some kind of like life lesson that you're supposed to learn, or some kind of protection or message or something? Don't know, but there's the deeply personal aspect that seems to be attached to these things and experiences. I think there's something to be said about that. I don't know what that means. But I've noticed that it's like a lot of these experiences seem to be almost like tailored to the person. Right. So it's like, this woman works in this hospital, this psychiatric hospital, and this complete anomaly is there for 10 years. And, it's just, and it's something she still thinks about to this day, because it's like, he should be dead, and it should be this, and it should be that, but it isn't. all the things it should be, it isn't.
And like what do we do with that? Like,
I think that's the thing. I don't think you can do anything.
you can't.
with it,
I
know?
just but that's the question you always have to ask yourself,
Yeah.
right? Is like, what do we do with that? And that's what me and you ponder all the
Yeah.
time. That's why this podcast was started.
Yeah.
It's because like we just have to. Yo, guess what I just heard?
Yeah.
Like all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And-
Why does sometimes in some houses, there's footsteps that go up a staircase? Why? I don't know. But it
Why did you
happens.
watch at the old house I lived in? The door slammed shut when you were going to get your key.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't think there is anything to be done with that other than to just recognize it. It happened. I'm going to store it in the file of unexplained.
yeah.
And there are unexplained things that occur
Right.
in our life. And I think that I feel not bad, but like the people that don't get to experience this kind of stuff or haven't, it's like, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like how bored are you? Like.
And I think there's also, I wouldn't say that, like, I mean, I think bringing belief into it is kind of almost like not to the point. I think that talking about belief is not it isn't even helpful.
Yeah.
It's just like, just take these as they are.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because it's like I love when there is someone, and I'm not even talking about like the full on like, oh, I've been a skeptic my whole life and then this happened. Like like I love when someone who just didn't even like care, or like there was never gonna thought, they don't watch shows or anything.
Yep.
Then something happens and they're like, hey, so this happened,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
and then. They find me and they tell me the story.
Yeah.
Or send me a video,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Ken." Like, "Hey, hi, this is what I do,"
Yeah.
and not in a way of like this. I'm not a professional. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's like it's a part of you and me. We're like, it's a part of our heart and core. It's like,
Yeah.
This is what we do.
Yeah, no, we like it. We want to hear it.
Yeah.
And because, I don't know if it, there's folks that talk about like, it's all connected. And I think, is it?
Right.
Like, I think the only thing that connects it is that it's unexplained.
Right. Right. And I've had plenty of friends too, like, and even my closest friends that have had some things happen to them.
Yeah.
And some were with me at my houses that were quote unquote haunted.
Yeah.
But then I have other ones who are like, my one buddy, I don't want to say his name right now because I don't want to like put him on the spot because he listens, but like, he was like, dude, you have so much shit, it's got to be bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Something happened to him at his house, who's the first person he calls, right?
Yeah.
And he tells me the story, and I'm like, bro, it happens.
Yeah,
like,
it just
I'm
does.
not, again, and he's like, well, what is it? I'm like, I don't know.
That's the whole,
I don't know.
that's the nature. You don't know.
Yeah, and that's what I'm telling you. Like,
Yeah.
like,
If we could explain it, it wouldn't even be a weird thing. You'd
Right.
be like, oh, hey, this is a ghostly experience. It happens sometimes when there's
Right.
certain weird, environmental things
here's
that happen.
what causes it.
Yeah.
It's this, there's this, you had too much sugar in your coffee earlier, and then you
Right.
peed 3 times, and it,
Right.
it
If it was
summoned-
explainable, it it wouldn't even be this thing. But
Right. Some of us just have more than others, and you try to make sure that it's not some kind of psychosis
Yeah.
or some kind of like genetic mental problem. And,
Sure,
and
well,
you,
I
and you-
think that's going to happen too.
yeah, that is going to happen too. But I'm saying on my level, it's
Sure.
like I step back and go, wait a second, are we crazy? And then like,
Yeah.
no, because other people that have been around experience, you've experienced mine,
Yeah.
like this and that. We've experienced yours earlier.
Yeah.
It's just, it happens. It
Yep.
just happens.
Yep. I think they're these fleeting experiences, and I think it's like I feel lucky to have seen things. I hope I see things again or experience things again, and I think it's definitely a special thing, and I think it's to be enjoyed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's to be savored and it's to be appreciated because one, not everyone can do it, and when it does happen, it's almost like when you have that that great drink or that great meal or that it's like. You can say that, oh, I might have this drink again, but you might not.
Yeah.
Like, just so this is great right now.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. Because
Yeah.
great, it's just, it's a thing that you can enjoy.
And who's to say it'll ever be that good again?
Right.
Yeah,
and that's what I mean. And because most of the time it's shit.
Yeah.
So when it's good and you have this remarkable experience or this, very unusual experience, savor that. It might be terrifying at the time, but then that's something you're going to think about for
Right.
a long time, possibly the rest of your life, unless you just can't deal with it. Because I know there's people, I've definitely known people who can't, because they can't process it and they don't have an answer for it, they're just like, they just put it out of their mind. Like, well, I don't know what that was, and I just don't think about it.
Yeah, and there's a thing too, because I know a lot of people that I tried to help with stuff that they were happening at their places, especially when I was working at bars. There's a lot of that emotion going around.
Sure.
People in their mid to late 20s, and they're like, "This is going on in my house," and this and that. And I try to explain the push. You know, like whatever it is tends to feed off high emotion, high fear, high anything. And a lot of it can be caused by you. And who's to say what it is? But you have to do this push of like your own positive, just like, nah, I'm good.
Sure.
Especially if it's taking a dark turn. You know what I'm saying?
Those are the ones that tend, for me personally, I mean, I don't know, because like I said, I'm not trying to explain any of this, but those are the ones that I tend to think are like, well, that seems to be something that's coming from inside.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying is the cleanse is your...
Yeah, is you mastering your emotions or whatever.
Push it all away and, realize that you're causing whatever it is, whether it be paranormal or be your own kind of psychosis. Because the more you feed into something like that, the more you're going to get back from it. Yep. Just like anything, that you do. Yeah. But I think that was the perfect closing statement for this episode.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Anything else to put the end on this? The bookend?
No, man. I think we're in the fall season now.
Veil is thinner.
Oh, indeed it is. And if you're listening to this, it's definitely the fall, and it's definitely the best season. And hey, take a second look at that stuff. If you don't normally, check out that little creepy off the beaten path graveyard that nobody really goes to anymore, or read some creepy stories, or just put yourself in that mindset, because I feel like when you're in that mindset, you kind of like slow yourself down a little bit. Hey, are there weird things going on around me? Maybe.
Don't be so fast to push it aside. Yeah,
and hey, don't be so fast to push it aside, because hey, maybe you look at it for a little while. No, it is nothing, and no problem. But then you do take the time on something else, and it's like, oh wait, this is kind of weird.
Right. Yeah, if there's a place nearby that people talk about,
I do have ghost herpes now.
Yeah. Throwback to 4 episodes,
or something.
But so hey guys, once again, we appreciate all the support. Yeah. We're gonna be doing nothing but expanding, going on. We're having fun doing it. We're having a blast, and we hope that you continue to have a blast with us. We've hit another milestone in the last month of listeners and downloads, and we hope it keeps going. And with that being said, for Other Dangerous Podcast, I'm Ken James.
And I'm Jason McKittrick.
And as always, have a spooky evening.
Spooky.
Thank you for listening to Other Dangerous Podcasts. Have you encountered the other dangers? If so, you can email us at otherdangerouspodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to have a discussion about the paranormal, you can find us at Other Dangerous Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. There you can find submitted pictures, videos, and artwork from listeners. We are now streaming on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else podcasts are streamed. And after listening, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you the other dangers.